Hi guys, I'm Zane and Schmahl from the Trans Baviaans, episode 5 of the Trans Baviaans Trans Talk podcast. That's quite a mouthful now, all of a sudden before the start. We are sitting on the top of Baviaans back, probably the first significant climb of the race. We've got the rest of the beautiful Baviaans Kloof to the back of us. And we actually eventually got some coffee made by Vickers. Thank you, Vickers. And I'm sitting with Vickers van der Walt, the race founder, and Harald Zumpt from Polar. And we are going to talk to you about bike maintenance, which is quite an important one. And Harold's going to chat a bit about training and simulation of training and what the cross-training type things we can look at. Harold, do you want to dive into that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Zane. I think one of the aspects is we've spoken in previous episodes about the number of hours you're targeting for each week, and obviously the question is always, should I be spending all that training time just on my bike? And the answer to that is, if possible, no. Try and vary it a bit. Try and fit in, if you can, fit in some walking or running. Because believe it or not, most of us in an event like this at some stage might have to walk, when especially on the fangs when it gets really steep. And as soon as you start walking next to your bike, you obviously it's a different range of motion, slightly different muscle activation, and that sort of thing needs to be trained as well. So I think if I can encourage you at any stage in your training to try and incorporate a bit of walking with your bike, maybe you even want to cross-train a bit with some running, or even something like swimming. It's also good supplementary training if you want to maybe supplement one session a week with an alternative type activity.
Yes.
Because upper body strength is not really spoken about, and upper body conditioning, but in a race like this where you've got those corrugations that we rode yesterday, for the first 100 kilometers you've got some serious corrugations, and if your upper body strength is lacking, you might fatigue a lot quicker than you think. So those are things to consider in your training. And then obviously the other aspect to training is, as we've already alluded to, is riding at night, because you are now, once most of us get up to Bergplaats, it starts getting dark, and now we've all of a sudden got to ride downhill with our headlights on, and it's a different experience, and it's something I think that should be trained. And a lot of us do start sessions early in the morning. But I think with your teammates, try and schedule the ride on the weekend, possibly that starts a little bit earlier or even goes into the night, just to simulate that side of things.
Yeah, and I think the night riding also, you might be doing it out on your own while training and so on, but when you're in a team on gravel road and it might be a bit dusty and so on, it's a different experience sitting behind the wheel of your teammate with lights on. And also there's that shadow issue where the front light is showing the road, and your light's actually just shining on your partner in front of yours light, and figuring out that following distance and dust, and it's little things, but it does add if you've been in that situation before, and you're not only putting you in that situation in the race at 200 k's down the line being quite tired. I think it does help to train that sort of thing on gravel roads and with lights.
Yeah, for sure, and it can form part of your training, part of your total plan, that you put those hours in at night rather than throughout the day. For most of us, it's more convenient to start that early morning when it's still dark, and because you're going to be training through winter for the event in August, it obviously goes without saying that you've got longer hours of darkness, so it's relatively easy to do, should I say.
Yeah. Vickers, we are sitting, and you can actually see the mountain quite nicely, probably more of the vastness of this wilderness area. Tell us a bit more about the fauna and flora, or the Baviaans Kloof heritage site.
We're basically right in the middle of the wilderness area at the moment. So, and the total area of the wilderness area is about 500,000 hectares. It's massive. And what makes it so unique, and I think also what gave it the World Heritage status, is the diversity of the area. If you look at South Africa, we've got 8 different biomes covering the whole of South Africa, and 7 of those biomes you can actually find in the Baviaans Kloof. So because of that diversity, you can find quite a lot of diverse animals as well. For instance, they have the rare Cape mountain zebra here. Very skittish, you don't see them. There's buffalo.
Like we just saw now. We saw
Yeah,
some nice
some
big bulls just down here.
one angry Daga bull there. So yeah, they are here. And of course, then the smaller stuff like the redfin minnows in the rivers and so on, which is also an indicator of the pristineness of the area. Because those things, if the water is slightly polluted, they're the first ones to be affected by it. So when you see these things, you're in a wild, natural area, and this is what Baviaans Kloof is all about.
And that's what Harold, that's what makes it so special to travel through here on your bike, on your own energy, your own way of traveling through. You actually smell the smells, you feel the temperature, you immerse yourself in this nature and traveling through here. It's really a special thing.
Yeah, I think the other aspect to bear in mind is if you do want to see what's around you, prepare enough, make sure you're fit enough to actually take in the views, because the views are amazing, and especially when it's not dark yet, you can see some spectacular views. But you're going to have to prepare so you're not just looking at your front wheel the whole time.
Well, fitness is one thing. The other element is your bike. So the steed that you're riding is to make sure that bike is looked after and maintained to actually ride this. I've too many times come across riders mid-race that their race has stopped because of bad or weak maintenance on the bikes. It's important to really service your bike, at least just give it a service before it comes onto this race. I mean, you're going to try and ride 230 Ks in one go through some gnarly terrain. So do yourself the favor and get the bike serviced before you come here. Make sure the tires have been filled up with sealant, that your chain is in a good condition. I mean, most of us don't service our bikes ourselves and take it to the bike shop. Tell them what you're about to do. Most of them will know what event the Trans Baviaans is, and they'll know what to look after. I think last year our first mechanic that was just down here at checkpoint 3 ran out of brake pads so quickly in the race. And if you arrive at 120 Ks into the race and your brake pads are completely shot, it's on steel, it means that you really didn't start with new brake pads at the start of this race. So it's little things like that to make sure you prepare. You don't want to come here, do all the effort, do all the trading, do all the preparation, and then it's a simple thing like brake pads or weak maintenance on the bike that ruins your day out here. So really make sure you look after your bicycle before you come here.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, the tip of putting on a fresh set of brake pads before the race, but possibly even carry your own set of brake pads with you. It's a small amount of weight as a spare that you can carry with you, just so you have that peace of mind. Yeah. And there are brake pads that are specific to your bike. And that's typically what happens with the mechanics, is they run out of specific brake pads that are quite popular, and they're unable to help you. And no point shouting at them, you just haven't prepared properly.
Yeah, and I think a little thing on specific to bike parts, a lot of people don't really know what the derailleur hanger is, or a different name for it is a dropout or the derailleur hanger, and that's the little part that connects your derailleur to the frame, and that is actually made to break. It's a point that will break first before you break something else, and they're very unique to each frame. So there's no way that a bike mechanic can carry the hundreds of different bikes that come onto a race. So that's a simple thing that I actually always just have with me whenever I go ride, is that specific hanger for that frame, your dropout, which is also a good tip to have with you. Guys, I think that's episode 5 on Baviaans Back. We're going to head down to the Langwater Smithscroll, which is just down here, after we finished our coffee. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, be careful for the snake bites out there. There's plenty of snakes here.
Real snakes and snake bites on the tires, eh? Especially going down Baviaans
Yep.
back.
Yeah.
Down we've had some gnarly falls going down here. It's quite rutted.
It's quite rutted, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers.